I don't really give much thought to like we have to beat somebody necessarily. My thoughts go more into how can we be better tomorrow than we are today, right? How can we be just a fraction percentage better tomorrow than we are today? Where can we grow some efficiencies? Where can we grow just a little bit? How can we challenge ourselves to get out of the norm, to get out of our comfort zone, to push us a little bit more in a smart way, obviously, and continue to grow through that path instead of, how can we beat Orange Theory? How can we be better than CrossFit? Like those thoughts don't really come into my mind quite as much because here's the thing, at the end of the day, they're doing some great things. If you're in the world of fitness and you're doing it, you're getting people off their couches, you're engaging them in fitness. I don't care what your brand is. I don't care who you are. You're helping people be better. Awesome. I want to do me better than you do you.
On this week's episode of Establishing Your Empire, Jonathan Pylant. Jonathan is the regional president for Camp Gladiator. And when he started, there was only a handful of trainers and workouts. And now they're in over 350 cities. They have over 1,000 trainers, 300,000 plus customers. Jonathan's got this really interesting story where he traded in his corporate suit for an outfit with a little bit more mesh. And we talk about CG's growth, how they deal with competition, Jonathan's leadership style, some tips for working with your spouse, and much more in this episode. You're listening to the Establishing Your Empire show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs, creatives, and future business owners to pursue their passions, grow their organizations, and build their empire. My name is Daran Herrman, and creatively, I'm best known for my photography. But business-wise, my claim to fame is growing a company from $15K per month in online sales to breaking the $1 million a month barrier. And I'm sitting down with interesting people to talk about their process, the lessons they've learned, and how they have established their empires. All right, Jonathan, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
Why don't you start out and give us a little background of who you are and what your story is?
Okay. There's a long version or the short version?
Let's do the long one.
The long
one.
We're
here, yeah.
Okay. Wow, Darren, how much time do we have? So I was born in Mississippi, moved to Shreveport, Louisiana when I was about 18 months old. I'm the oldest of four. I have two younger brothers, one younger sister. Grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, went to high school there, played football, did all the things. Went to Louisiana Tech University in Ruston, Louisiana. It's about 45 miles east down I-20 from Shreveport. Out of college, took a job in Little Rock, Arkansas. Was there for 2 years working as a civil engineer for the Arkansas Highway Department up there. And after 2 years in Little Rock, ended up moving to Dallas, where I've been for the last 15 years. So that's a very abridged version of the story, but kind of hit all the high points.
And that's a little bit more why you have the accent, right?
A little bit of accent?
Yeah, I was like, that doesn't really sound as much like as a Dallas accent.
No,
so,
not much.
Okay, so then now, I know you because of a mutual friend, Dallas Seeley, and with Camp Gladiator. So why don't you give me a story how that happened? How did you get involved? The beginnings, right?
Yeah. So I was working in Dallas for an engineering firm called Half Associates. Was working for them for several years and doing really well. Really liked my work. I was doing roadway design all over the state of Texas. And it was really weird. I remember it was February of 2009. I remember very vividly. February of 2009 is when I just started having this restless feeling. Didn't know what it was. Couldn't explain it away. But you ever had a feeling like you just got to move?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It was like that, but it wasn't a physical restlessness really. And so I just kind of didn't think much about it, but it was always kind of there. I remember very vividly the second moment when something happened. It was about April of 2009. Went and had drinks with a buddy after work and sat down, and his name was Josh, and sat down across from Josh, and just kind of in a moment of clarity, I said, you know what? Someday people are going to ask me, what do you do for a living? And I'm not going to say engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. And that was the end of it.
Just not this.
Yeah, just not this. And I had no idea. I didn't know about Camp Gladiator. Nothing had really prompted that. It was just these feelings I was having. And I'm religious. And I think it was God kind of prompting me, getting ready for a move. right? Kind of setting expectations.
It sounds like you were listening too.
Yeah, well, I'm open to it. I was open. Definitely wasn't closed off. And so, fast forward to June of 2009. I'm playing in a co-ed flag football league. We have the championship game, and 2 of our girls can't be there. And so we're on the field. And by the way, we were playing at a place called Griggs Park in Dallas, and it was a kind of a sports field and that sort of thing. And there was this group of people on the field every Thursday before we got there, and they were working out, running around doing wind sprints. And there's these 2 cute little blondes, and there's this kind of fit, bald-headed Marine. And one thing, side note, there's never a former ex-Marine. They're Marines.
Hey, right. I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
Never thought of that way, but
yeah, that's one thing.
I think that's true.
I made a mistake one time of saying a former Marine. So, well, hang on. I know you don't know this, but we're not a former Marine. It's just Marines. Sorry, got it. So I wasn't in the military, but definitely respect all our
Love
people. So anyway, they're running around the field, and they got a group of about 50 people out there and whatnot. They get off the field, and we jump on the field. We're setting the field up for football and whatnot. And then one of our girls says, hey, 2 of our girls are stuck in traffic. They're not going to be here. I said, well, we need 2 other players. We can go with 6. We would ideally need 7. We have 5. We need at least 1 more. And so my friend Chelsea said, well, hang on. I do this boot camp over here. Let me go see if one of the trainers wants to play with us. Great. She went over there, and I'll give you my version of the story. If you happen to talk to my wife, Amy, she may tell you a different version of the story, but I'm the one sitting here. So you get my version, Daran. So anyway, she comes over and plays the game with us. We end up winning. I met her literally in between plays about 10 minutes into the football game, right? Very athletic, very attractive. And at the end of the game, I walked over to her and, hey, great job. We ended up winning. The team was going to go kind of celebrate at a place called Frankie's just around the corner. And it's kind of brief, another tangent. I really wasn't in a place to really date. I just got out of a relationship, had what I call relationship hangover. The past several months, people try to set me up on dates, and I just really wasn't interested. And so when I went to her and I asked her, I said, hey, let me get your number if you want to play with us next season.
Right.
That genuinely, truly is what it intended to be. A couple guys on my team, we went to high school together, played ball and everything. They start, giving me mess and just, is everything. No, I promise. I told her, so look, I know they're being messy, but I promise I'll only call you if it's for football. And so she, okay, And of course, she has her version of that too. So we ended up going out afterwards and ended up eating some dinner. It was about 12 of us sitting at a table, and we start off opposite of the table. And by the end of the night, we were 2 of the last people there, sitting right across from each other, really in deep conversation. And I had a conversation with myself, and I said, "Self, you might want to ask her out on a date." And so we agreed, and I did.
We agreed.
So I asked her out on a date literally that night, and we went on our first date the following Sunday, a couple days later. And I can get more into that in a little bit if we want to. But on that date, she asked me, some background information, to play sports and we for workout and things like that. And she said, by the way, I run this boot camp. It was the same one that I was running before y'all played flag football. Said, we have a workout tomorrow morning. It's Monday morning. Do you want to come work out? I said, sure. I was ex-athlete, thought I still was sometimes. And I'm like, I'm going to go dominate your little, ladies boot camp, because that's what I thought it was, push-ups and your cute little sprints in the parking lot. I'm an athlete. I got this, right? Went out and got my tail handed to me, but in the most fun, amazing way. A lot of community, a lot of culture, a lot of high fives. I was a new guy, but I wasn't a stranger. It was just so inviting. And just the community.
And it's fun when you have other people next to you, because you're like,
yeah,
it's you versus you a little bit, but you see them going a little faster because some people are better in certain areas.
Yeah.
At like burpees or something. You're like, oh, I can go faster than that person. Then all of a sudden you're gassed out and struggling.
Absolutely. So it was fun to get out there and compete a little bit. I ended up signing up as a camper. This is like back in June of 2009. I signed up as a camper. And a couple weeks later, they had what's called Bring a Friend Week. And I had a little bit of background in personal training. When I was in Little Rock, Arkansas, I did it kind of as a side hustle and whatnot. And so Mason and Amy, I would get up there early every morning, help set up. I'm trying to date the trainer, so I'm trying to be around a bit more. So help her set up, help her, pick up and everything after camp. Well, Mason asked me one day, this is 2 weeks after my first workout. He said, "Hey, we have a little bit larger than expected group. Do you want to help us train?" I said, "Sure, I'll do that." I said, "What do you want me to do?" He said, "Walk around, correct form, motivate, encourage people. They're the people you know already, right? Call them by their name and just kind of generally help us out with crowd control. Expecting about 75 people this morning." So, yeah, I got this. Cool. So I did, and never went back to being a camper. I still get my workouts in, and whatnot, but I never went back to being just a camper. A couple weeks later, Amy handed me a check. I'm like, "What is this for?" She said, "Oh, by the way, you're getting paid to be an assistant with us." I'm getting paid for this? I'm trying to date the trainer. I thought I was hanging out with some friends. This
I just
is
have a good
awesome.
time. Yeah,
this is awesome. But that was really my first introduction to Camp Gladiator, and a little bit of how I transitioned from a camper for 2 weeks to being a trainer, and the rest kind of snowballed from there. And I'm sure we'll probably get into that here.
Yeah, actually. So you're regional president.
Yes, sir.
So, and then, Camp Gladiator, maybe give us some stats I think most people would know what it is, but now you guys are in multiple states, hundreds and hundreds of cities. I think I have up here 4,000 plus locations. I don't even know how up to date that is. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Started in 2008. So you were pretty ground floor 2009. That was still pretty early on. Give us a little bit more of a story of that growth trajectory that you had inside the company and how that happened.
Yeah. Okay. So Camp Gladiator started in Dallas, Texas. It is an Austin-based company. This is where our headquarters is, but started in Dallas, Texas.
I did not know that. I always thought it was Austin.
Yeah. So September of 2008 is when Allie and Jeff Davidson opened up Camp Gladiator. Allie ran her first workouts in Dallas, Texas. Very soon realized she, was onto something. This group workout, that was kind of the thing, the boot camp style. But it was all military style. Allie wanted to do something different, something fun, engaging. Allie is a freak of an athlete. She's awesome. And grew up playing sports, collegiate basketball player. Excuse me. In fact, a lot of people know her story from American Gladiators, was an American Gladiator grand champion. And in 2008, and then that's kind of what she parlayed into, 15 minutes of fame, into launching Camp Gladiator. Very quickly, I would say people associated with Allie and amazing workouts and not the Gladiator grand champion, right? And so, and she says, with the 15 minutes of fame, this is what she wanted to do, kind of start Camp Gladiator. And it was amazing. Very quickly, she realized, I got to have some help. And that's when she reached out to a friend, Mason Murphy, who was her husband, Jeff, grew up with Mason. Mason was a top trainer at Premier Club, one of the big clubs in Dallas at the time. And basically came out and started helping out. And in February, I believe it's February of 2009, Allie took one of my wife's classes at 24 Hour Fitness. She was leading a Nike, I forget the name of the class, but it was a Nike athletes class, right, at 24 Hour Fitness. And Allie was just blown away. My wife is a fantastic trainer. In fact, I still go do it for my workouts. I love her, one of my favorites. And Allie took her to coffee and asked her to come on board Camp Gladiator. So that was kind of how the genesis of the concept of partnership started with Camp Gladiator. Allie and Jeff moved down here to Austin in, I believe it was January of 2009. So Allie and Jeff had just started CG in Dallas, and then had a couple directions. They could either, sell it to someone, just kind of as a database, or they could bring on board partners to help continue the business. So they brought on Amy Mason in Dallas, and then Allie and Jeff moved down here to Austin, and Allie was getting ready to open up Camp Gladiator here in Austin. And I believe opened up Austin May of 2009. So you have Dallas and Austin going on with basically 3 trainers. And it just kind of started from there. It's kind of how we
So how did you just go from, camper, assistant trainer to all the way to regional president? Like, what was the steps that you got involved there?
Yeah.
And obviously, since you were a little early on, but there was a lot of other people early on. So why, why you going in that progression instead of not, right?
Yeah. So, like I said, I was working my engineering job, I was a civil engineer. I had a professional, I got a career, right? And so I never viewed Camp Gladiator as anything more than just helping my girlfriend out with her pretty cool business thing that she was doing, I remember the day where I was sitting and the check amount. Because I mentioned, I'm getting paid for it now. And so I was sitting at TT Park in Dallas. It was a Wednesday. I had a Jeep at the time. My Jeep was parked under this tree. It's weird how just vivid the memories are. And at the time, Allie and Jeff would mail our checks to Amy, and Amy would hand them out to us at camp after workout was done. And so I'm sitting in my Jeep and looking, and I open my check, and I'll never forget the dollar amount. It was $2,354.64. $2,354.64. I'm looking, I went, said, I'm doing this just kind of on the side for fun. I'm working my engineering job all through the day, 8 to 10 hours, and I'm able to do this. I said, wonder what would happen if I wasn't doing engineering and I just did Camp Gladiator. Imagine what could happen. And I'm not driven by money necessarily, but let's be honest, you got to pay the bills.
Yeah,
right?
Money is fuel, though. I mean, it helps.
It helps. And at the time, Amy and I were getting serious, and we had talked about getting engaged and whatnot. And so, of course, thinking about stability and family and these types of things. And so I was like, well, I got this stable, sure thing with engineering. I got a 401k, employee stock options, and benefits, and I got a year-end bonus and a guaranteed salary, and all these things. Or I have this other thing, literally limitless,
right? Scalable,
no ceiling, scalable. And at the time, and this was about 18 months after. So you go ahead and fast forward again. This is probably 2011, the first of 2011, maybe February 2011, somewhere around there. Excuse me. Around February 2011. And we knew what we had, people wanted, right? And we knew in order to grow, we had to align ourselves, or we had to get the right people on board that aligned with our mission, our vision, and values. That was very important for us. We didn't have a whole lot around programming in the early days because it was just kind of a round table of trainers, and we understood progressions and different things like that. It wasn't until later where we started developing and really putting a lot of thought behind the programming component of Camp Gladiator. But what was there in the early days was the culture, the community, the amazing workouts, the friendly trainers, the people that really cared. And so our mission from day one has been to positively impact the physical fitness and ultimately the lives of as many people as possible. And that is something that every trainer can recite. A lot of our campers know that as well. And that's what really drove us in the early days and still today. And so as far as the growth goes, finding people that align with that are passionate about helping people that are skilled in the fitness industry, and bringing them aboard and having them do what we do.
Do you think that you not having a trainer's background helped you along the way, or was that hurtful?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, like I said, I've been involved in sports my whole life, and I don't think that just because you're an athlete, you can train people. Like just because
you're the best player doesn't mean you're a good coach.
Exactly. Right. I believe that trainers are kind of like teachers, honestly, in that there's two types. There's people that are called to do it, and there's people that really can't do anything else. And so why not be a trainer? I saw it a lot in the gyms back when I was just out of college or in college, people that just, I don't know what else to do. So I'm gonna go get my personal training certification, go be a trainer for a few years. So I figured it out, right? It's kind of easy.
It's kind of like the communications major for college. Like, I really don't know what I'm going to do, but this seems kind of fun, or I know I can do it, I guess.
Yeah. So my driving passion more was to help people. And my outlet for that was personal training. And so I've always had a desire to help people grow in whatever aspect, whatever path they want to go down. And in this environment, that was their fitness, right? Whether people wanted to PR in a 5K or a marathon or wanted to lose 10 pounds or whatever the case may be. I was very attracted to helping people achieve those goals. And so not having a fitness background, that was all, I say my knowledge is all blue collar, from growing up in the weight room since I was, 14, 15 years old, all the way through, multiple things from powerlifting to bodybuilding and, functional training and, now with Camp Gladiator. It's really using that background and experience that I've had in the past and combined with my, certifications to help that out. So yeah, I don't think it was necessarily a hindrance. I think it made me open to not only this is the way to do it, but figuring out, the right ways to do it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. I think it sounds like to me that you cared about more about the people. One direction I still want to move in is how did you go from, a trainer to more of a leadership management role? Like, was that just out of sheer need or was it, tell me that story.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm kind of got this timeline in my head. So we're February of 2011 is when I kind of received the check and I was like, hey, I could do this. Right. Well, Amy and I at that point started talking. And at that point we were engaged to marry. We got engaged, Thanksgiving of 2010. And, we're planning everything. We're getting married in Hawaii and, both of us making good money. I'm making dual income with Camp Gladiator. My engineering job hadn't left there yet. Amy's doing personal training and making great income at Camp Gladiator. And so we're paying for our wedding in Hawaii. And we got a plan, we got a budget, and we got all the things lined out, right? Well, I'm working 18 to 20 hour days, literally burning the candle at both ends, doesn't even start to describe it, right? Memorial Day weekend, May of 2011. Meet Amy for breakfast. She looked at me and she said, her version is, I was just kind of a shell of myself. My body's comfortable about 195, I'm working out and eating and things like that. About 6'1", about 195. I was down to about 170.
Oof.
Wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, just really working as hard as I could.
Waking up at 4 a.m, 3:30, something like that, probably.
Exactly. And she looked at me, she said, quit. She said, quit. I said, yeah, but we got this budget, we got this plan. The plan is to stay all the way through to get this year's bonus. Had that kind of be a nest egg for us to maybe, look at buying a home in 2012 or whatever the case may be. And she goes, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We got this. It's me and you. We got this. I said, all right. So Memorial Day weekend, she and I had a great conversation about kind of managing what it was going to look like without that salary coming in and whatnot. And walked in my boss's office Tuesday morning with my resignation letter, my 2 weeks notice. And he obviously he knew I was doing Camp Gladiator, was not stupid. And he told me, he said, I'll let you kind of do what you're doing, give you some flex time. As long as you're working, compromise, you make meetings and, that sort of thing. Great. And so when I did it, it wasn't a shock to him. I knew this was coming. I know you're not going to work with a competing competitor.
Yeah.
There you go. Competitor. So I'm going to wish you best of luck, shake your hand and tell you if you ever want to come back, you have a place here.
Great.
So that was really cool. So that kind of started my path. And I left corporate America back in end of May of 2011. And from there, like, you just had to make something happen. And so now I'm going all in with Camp Gladiator. I'm running more workouts and doing all the things. At that point, we didn't really have a leadership structure built out per se, because it was still kind of relatively flat. It was Jeff and Allie, and then Amy and Mason were directors over all of DFW. And at this time, we probably had about 20, 25 trainers on the team. And so span of control for two peoples is okay. Once we started getting more people on board, I was kind of the older guy, so to speak. I've been around a while. And so I was like, hey, Jonathan, why don't you teach trainer X, how to do X, Y, Z? Go out to his workouts, help him with programming, marketing, sales, whatever the case may be, right? And so kind of had a knack for helping people get up and running and just kind of mentoring them along the way. As we're growing, Jeff is a fantastic leader, and he has a lot of experience growing teams and growing sales teams and those types of things. And very quickly started to build out kind of a leadership structure of director above trainer. And basically just kind of came to me one day and said, "Hey, I want to promote you over this area." I said, "Great, that's cool. What does that mean?" He's like, "Well, what do I need to do? I've never done this. What you're about to ask me to do, I've never done that before." He goes, "Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. I don't want to change what you're doing. I just want to give you more of an official, capacity in that." And so one of my biggest things early on was I never wanted to do anything that would take away from Amy and Mason, because they're the ones that that started it. I don't want to split things three ways now, so to speak, especially because Amy and I at that time were married. And so now I didn't want to take away from, Mason, who's my best friend. And so anyway, at that point, of course, there's more than enough to go around. Right. So that's what kind of started my leadership journey. It was more out of necessity probably, and just having a knack for kind of helping people kind of intuitively, helping people figure out what they were trying to do and help set them up and position them for the opportunities.
So, and at that point, were you still training people, or were you, because you're probably doing like a split role there for a while?
Yeah.
And then at what point did you stop training people, or do you still? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I still train people.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So
11 years or whatever in, you're still training.
Yep. Almost 11 years in. It'll be 11 years in June of 2020. And still train people. So I trained on Monday morning, 5 a.m. And had 25 people out there in Dallas, and we had a great workout.
Keeps your ear to the ground a little bit of how people are feeling.
Absolutely. And within Camp Gladiator, we have really a player coach model. I don't want that to be a buzzword, but it really and truly is, player coach model. We don't have our leaders removed from the field necessarily. They still need to be ingrained in that, to have the pulse, not just of the trainers, but also the campers. Find out as far as the marketing, the promotions. We have our CG games and CG Fit. These are different things that we do a benefit ad for our campers. And so having our leaders on the ground, leading from the front in those initiatives is very, very important for us. And so even as a region president, I'm still running workouts there in Dallas.
Yeah, nice. So tell me maybe something that has helped in the past or currently helps with you guys growing, and more like what's worked for you. Mm-hmm. So, because I would assume that you guys, more trainers, more locations, more trainers, mm-hmm. usually is the best way to grow, or is one way to grow. But maybe give me some thoughts or some value there of what has worked for you guys.
So we have something that we call the total transformation. And this is something where we started it back, I guess it was about 7 years ago now. And it's our way to really fully invest into our region, where you get the full weight of the company kind of focusing on that one region. And so we do it in a little bit of a round robin style with where we focus our efforts. And really it's just a big marketing push behind a region. And we set that up beforehand with what we call a recruiting blitz, where we come in and we, hold auditions. We find people that are going to be great partners for us, and we bring them on board. We get them, to a place where they're, like you mentioned, open up more locations and that sort of thing. And then as a business, we support that fully from a Salesforce perspective. All of our trainers coming in, being the Salesforce on the ground. And so we have trainers flying in, for example, here in Austin, we're going to have a total transformation in the spring. Trainers flying in from North Carolina, people going from West Texas, people going from Florida, all to support that. And so it really is a pretty amazing business. And I don't know any other business that rallies behind their business partners in that way. And so that was Jeff and Ali's brainchild back about 6 years ago, to have this thing. And really we have a total transformation package, which is like a body composition analysis, is for Camp Gladiator, kind of a package that we sell. And we're around at a bunch of events. We set up, all around town, and our trainers are out there actively promoting and selling these things.
So how do you hire a trainer? Like, how do you know if somebody's going to be good or not? Like, what's that process?
Yeah. So we're all independent contractors. And so there is kind of multiple checkpoints that we look for. And so as independent contractors, we don't, example, a painter is independent contractor, right? You don't teach your painter how to paint your home. You may ask for recommendations or, see a sample of his work or something like that, but it's not your job to teach him how to paint, right? You hire him. And so with us hiring independent contractors, we do ask them to show us a sampling of their work, right? And show that they're proficient in certain areas, ones that we know are going to be beneficial for them in our world, and then make sure they align from a values perspective and those types of things. And if they do, we bring them on board as a business partner. And so that's kind of high level. If I didn't answer your question, feel free to ask it again.
No, I like it. No, it's good. I think, any of this stuff is more how you think of things, right? Mm-hmm. So if a listener's coming through, the value that I'm hoping to bring is whether they're in fitness or not, let's say, so in my business, I hire a ton of freelancers, almost all over the world too. And again, I'm not going to teach somebody how to do some web, programming. Like I want them to know how to program it well. But then what I'll do is I'll give them some small tasks to see what their communication is like, see if they adhere to timelines, see how their work is, So when a trainer comes on, I'm guessing there's, a whole train, like they have probably assistant training for a while, whatever, before they get their own camp and stuff like that. I would imagine now you guys have people wanting to join up all the time.
Yeah.
When you first started, how did that recruiting process go?
We were begging people to be trainers.
Yeah.
At the very first, we didn't know what we were doing. It was like, hey, you look fit. You want to be a trainer for us? Here's a t-shirt, put it on, come train. A lot of things back then, we've learned a lot.
Kind of almost like they're like, hey, you seem, you're coming a lot. Can you just help out?
Yeah. And back in the early days, that's kind of what it was. We had a lot of our campers turn trainers, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. So back in the early days, we found out very quickly that you don't just hire people with a handshake in that, just kind of let them go. They're representing your business. And we had several unfortunate experiences happen. We got to have more of a, system of checks and balances with who we're bringing on board. And I mentioned core values several times. That's big for us. Make sure they align from a core values perspective. And our core values are passion, positivity, loyalty, integrity, and teamwork. If someone doesn't have those core values, it's going to be very difficult for them to operate in our system. We do operate from abundance place of abundance. I mentioned from a total transformation, people flying in from all over the country to help build their business partner's business in Austin. They don't benefit from that in the long term. Of course, there's, commissions and things like that from sales, but it's not directly benefiting them. And so that teamwork mentality is very, very important. So if we have someone that's out for themselves or trying to do their own thing, it's not going to work very well in our system because of the way our trainers do work together. And so very early on, we knew we had to have those values alignment and people that were in it for the right reasons. And, you learn that sometimes the hard way by, going through some rough patches where people don't align, and now they're representing your company. And now how do you, move past with that? And so a lot of our learning experiences have brought us to where we are today from kind of our affiliate process where we do vet trainers, to come on board. And it is a two-way thing.
Yeah. Was there anything that you learned over the course of time of managing, I'm sure, I don't know how many trainers are kind of underneath your, what that you're managing, but like anything that you've learned over the past that would be helpful, like that you think you could put into words?
Oh, wow. Learned a lot.
Right. Or maybe even just a style that has worked for you too. Like anything that would be valuable.
Yeah. So listening.
That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, is to listen better.
Yeah. Like, find that people who do a whole lot of talking may not have quite as clear a direction as they think they do. I don't like the sound of my voice that much, to be honest with you. And so when I'm going in to mentor someone, it doesn't matter if it's a trainer, it doesn't matter if it's a leader or who a director in our company, right? I'm going to ask them a lot of questions before I ever give them feedback on something, right? Understanding where they are. And this is kind of what I tell all of my people, is that I want to ask you questions and understand what your goals are, adopt them as my own so I can help position you for those opportunities. I want to know what you want to do in the future. It doesn't matter what path I have baked out for you. If it's not your path or where you want to go, it's not going to be successful, right? How about we start with you first? You tell me where you want to go, and let's vision cast together a little bit, and then I can help position you better with more understanding for what you want to do in the future, right? We have some amazingly entrepreneur-minded trainers that want to go launch, CG China, everywhere, and we'll be everywhere there are people. And, knowing what passions people have and their vision for their own future is very beneficial. And so one thing that I've learned is to just listen and ask a lot of questions.
I love it. What about, how do you rate a trainer, or how do you know that a trainer is doing a good job? Right?
Yeah.
Because you're not like you're going to be there watching them every single session. There's too many of them.
Yeah. So, again, I mentioned I'm a Christian, and Bible verse that comes to mind is a tree is known by its fruit. And so you look at the fruit and you look at what the campers are saying. We have a rating system, and our campers can comment after every workout. And so you look at a rating. We have, trainers known as some of the top rated trainers in our entire system, and some trainers that aren't very well rated. You also look at class attendance. So they have in just, 50, 60, 70 people every camp. They have in 2 to 3 people out there. And so you look and see kind of what they're doing, and more so than the results, just the community they're building, the ratings and campers that they tell you they didn't like the workout, and all of us have bad days, but it's the consistency that, I look for. And so we kind of have that as a way to kind of evaluate our trainers.
And how do you get that survey, or is it through digital, through sheets? Yeah,
it's through digital. So we have it built out in our system. So we have an app on the phone where campers can check in to their workouts and track their check-ins and track different things like that, body comp analysis, so forth and so on. And at the end of every workout, they're prompted to give a rating, 5-star rating, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever it is. And they're always able to leave comments if they want to. And so with a rating system in the comments, we can kind of look and see who our top level trainers are and how well they're doing. Also gives us a chance to give our trainers feedback, and iron sharpens iron. And so we really help to, keep everybody at a high level.
That's great. That feedback loop is very important. What's your favorite workout for yourself, or to train or to do, either one?
Oh man, I'm an old school meathead. I am. I love lifting heavy.
Me too,
I really and truly do.
I'm trying not to anymore as much.
I know.
I don't want to do injuries.
I'm 40. I'm 40. Turned 40 last year, and I don't bounce quite as well as I used to, Daran. But no, I've never been a big runner. Just go run for distance. I do really enjoy sprints. My wife had a really good workout the other day, and with Camp Gladiator, we use body weight. We also use dumbbells, resistance bands, and slam balls and those types of things. Well, she had a fantastic workout the other day that I really, really enjoyed. And so more so than the traditional gym lifting heavy, like lifting heavier weights and, squat to presses and different things like that, moving in a more athletic, functional way. That's really what I'm enjoying as far as my workouts these days. And like I said, my wife is absolutely my favorite trainer. I let her kick my butt every Monday, Wednesday evening that I'm in town in Dallas.
Yeah, but back when you were powerlifting, what was your best? Was it squat, clean, and bench? Was that the 3?
Yeah, so
I used to do those competitions back in the day.
Yeah, so squat, deadlift, and bench press. Bench press, I was never really hugely strong on bench press.
That was my best by far, was bench. Yeah.
Yeah. 305 is the highest I ever got up to. And I would do it for 3 reps. And so I got 305 for 2 reps. Deadlifting, and all these are gym. I never competed, but deadlifting, I got almost to 600 pounds 3 times. I had more of a powerful stance and movement from a deadlift perspective. Squats, just got over 300 pounds for 3 reps. And so I was way more heavily
that's a
weighted
big
on the deadlift.
Yeah, big deadlift. Yeah, I never did the quite for X3, but I think I did 450 on deadlift once. I don't think I got any higher than that. But I did 360 on bench was the highest I ever got, which was pretty big. I was 20 pounds heavier than I am now.
Yeah.
A little to 24 pounds heavier, actually.
Definitely helps. Definitely helps.
Me head. That's definitely definitely where it was going. Okay, so what's the future hold for you? Like, give me the next couple of years, 5 years, whatever you want to take it.
Yeah. So for me personally, or just Camp Gladiator?
Yeah.
For me personally, oh man, I'm loving what I'm doing. I really and truly do. Like I said, I'm region president of Camp Gladiator. It's kind of cool to say. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know, but I really enjoy, say cliche to say, I really enjoy helping people. And the higher, we have levels of leadership, the more I'm focused on the highest level and helping them develop. And I'm in a place now where I'm helping leaders learn to develop leaders that are developing our trainers. And so that's really what I'm excited about now. And I'm in charge of our leadership development programs within Camp Gladiator. And so developing, curriculum in partnership with our people at headquarters, and kind of being on the forefront of that, like what's next for our leaders? What's the next level above me? Like I want to start thinking about that, not necessarily to pursue it myself, but how that works within our system, and how that benefits everybody. We don't want to have a tall, skinny, structure necessarily, but thinking through what span of control does look like, and, effective span of control. Mentorship is huge for us, weekly checkpoints and meetings and things like that. And it's really fully understanding, how we can help build out, best practices and even systems for our leaders to be able to engage with their trainers and their leaders to continue to help this grow, because it only, kind of say it's cones in a parking lot, that's what we do. We run workouts, but at the same time, there's a whole business side behind it. And if you don't take care of business, you're not going to be in business much longer. Yeah,
I think you guys' branding has always been really, really strong. How do you guys deal with competitors, or give you guys a competitive edge? Like, any thoughts there?
So, excuse me. I don't really give much thought to like we have to beat somebody necessarily. My thoughts go more into how can we be better tomorrow than we are today, right? How can we be just a fraction percentage better tomorrow than we are today? Where can we grow some efficiencies? Where can we grow just a little bit? How can we challenge ourselves to get out of the norm, to get out of our comfort zone, to push us a little bit more in a smart way, obviously, and continue to grow through that path instead of, how can we beat Orange Theory? How can we be better than CrossFit? Like those thoughts don't really come into my mind quite as much, because here's the thing, at the end of the day, they're doing some great things. If you're in the world of fitness and you're doing it, you're getting people off their couches, you're engaging them in fitness. I don't care what your brand is. I don't care, who you are. You're helping people be better. Awesome. But I want to do me better than you do you, And so I'm not necessarily competing against you. I just want to be the best version of me that I can be. Right. And I try to take that mindset to Camp Gladiator, and how can we be better? Let's be better about these things. We do postmortems on a lot of things. We got what we call a 33. It's 3 positives, 3 opportunities, and we 33 everything, right? From the meetings we do to the workouts we have, conversations that we have, and things of that nature. And it's just iron sharpening iron. It's kind of built into our culture. How can we be better? Not necessarily than somebody else, but to be the best versions of us.
Yeah, that's great. Can you give me any examples that you can remember of a 33?
Yeah. So, gave my wife her 33 on her workout. Like, I love your movements. I love the strength. I love the way you communicated that. You really helped set the expectations for me for what I'm about to do in this workout. And for me, you just say, ready, go. It's like, okay, what level of intensity, how many reps am I doing, rep range? Is there a time duration that's controlling this? Am I traveling? What are we doing here? Right. And so she's really good about communicating all those things, the details. And so I have a great understanding when she says go of what is expected of me during this workout. Right. Opportunities.
And do you always start with the positive first?
Always.
Okay, I like it.
Always start with the positive. Yep. And we'll have some younger trainers that get in. I'm gonna give you 33. I'm gonna tell you what you did wrong. Like, hang on. This is okay. So
back up.
Start with positives, and make sure that we communicate effectively. And so I don't like communicating, strengths and weaknesses. It's like strengths and opportunities. Like, these are opportunities to improve. Right. It's not a weakness you have necessarily. Opportunities Or, you know what, I may not have loved that traveling exercise we did. It's not wrong. It's just personal preference. And that's what a 33 is. It's helping me give you my opinion on, these things. Loved this movement, didn't really love that movement necessarily. Have you thought about maybe implementing a different movement or this, that, or the other, And so, and again, we're business partners. She's like, that's awesome. Like, she seems to really value I think she does. She seems to,
easy to say when she's not here.
Yeah.
And do you guys do that with your personal life as well?
Yeah. Yeah. We actually
same format or different?
A little bit different format. It's like, do you mind if I give you some feedback?
Maybe
can
5-1, right?
You give me a
5
positive
positives.
first. Yeah. But it's fun. And working with my wife, we've been in this business now for, going on a decade together. And it's been such an amazing journey. All the friends and people that we've been on this journey with, I couldn't imagine doing it with anyone, with anybody else.
Any recommendations or things that have helped you guys along the way that you could let us know that would work when you're working with your significant other?
Yeah. Create boundaries. So Amy and I, very early on, it's easy. It's easy to let work overtake your life, especially when you're kind of an entrepreneur. You're your own business owner. You don't have the defined 9 to 5 in a work setting, and you turn the light off and you leave the office, and now you're doing other things, right? Work follows you home because it's at your home. We office out of our home. We travel a lot. We have 2 kids now, and so understanding and putting boundaries in place and respecting those boundaries is very, very important. And a couple of things that we have, we don't love working at night. That's our time to engage with the kids. Now, there's times where we have to work at night because we have deadlines or something important that we need to do, right? But we don't do that during dinner, during bedtime, or things like that for the kids, right? We're fully engaged with each other and with our children. After the kids go to bed, if we have something we need to do, we'll respect each other and say, hey, just so you know, I got a little bit of work I need to do tonight. And there's always grace that's given there, right? The second thing is we don't like to come in the door on the phone. Like walking into our home on the phone, engaged in conversation. We like to walk in the door and engage each other, right? And so little things like that are things that we've learned over the years. And another thing is when we go on date night, my phone does not go with us. My phone stays either in the truck or at home.
Wow.
And so that's something that, has been big for us and kind of learning. I would take her phone for the kids and things like that, obviously, right? But learning, I think each of us as spouses have like these hot buttons, so to speak. And we've learned what those buttons are through the years, and communicating effectively about those things has helped us create these boundaries to be respectful of one another, knowing that, we're not going to stop doing this together. We're going to grow this business together for as long as we can, So how do we operate with respect of each other, in this business? And that's been important for us.
I love it. What about any recommendations of somebody wanting to enter the world of fitness, like as a trainer, not just for CG, but just in general?
Yeah. I would recommend that they, first thing is, I think a lot of people, especially in Camp Gladiator, they see their trainer and they think this is this glamorous job, right? And they kind of have this idea of what it is built in their head. But like there's a whole business side behind it. And so my recommendation is to, one, go get certified, like go get some knowledge built so you have a better understanding for what it is you're doing. It's not just push-ups and sprints in a parking lot. There's programming, there's, very specific things and reasons why certain things are put together that way. Duration of time, rep ranges, intensity, so forth and so on, progressions, regressions, right? Understand those things and have better understanding around why things are the way they are. Go get experience somewhere, doesn't matter what it is. Experience is experience. When I was an engineer, I wouldn't get hired unless I had experience. Like, well, where do you get experience in? You do internships and things like that. And so having that experience is going to be beneficial from a lot of different ways. And so if someone's looking at the fitness industry, I'd say, one, go take some classes, different classes, gain a little bit of experience outside of what you traditionally do. And then I'm not going to say go get certified, but look into certifications and understand which ones. There's just so many out there. so many certifications out there, from CrossFit level 1, I'm sure has their certification, to, CPT, certified personal trainers, nationally accredited certification programs, and all the things, right? So understand a little bit more about the industry, and then what you want to kind of focus on, and then find people maybe to be a mentor in that area. And I definitely encourage them to look at certifications and kind of grow a knowledge base before they just jump into it.
Yeah, before diving in.
Yeah.
What about you? Any mentors or anybody helped you along the way with your career?
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that I've done this with for a while. Jeff Davidson, co-founder and co-owner of Camp Gladiator. He's always been a big mentor of mine ever since day one. I still remember some of the very first conversations, that we had about leadership. And Jeff is a fantastic leader. Like I mentioned, in multiple things before Camp Gladiator, and he's our chief sales officer and co-CEO in CG. Also Mason Murphy. He's one of my best friends, trainer number 1 for Camp Gladiator, or trainer number 2 behind Allie. He's Marine, the Marine I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Marine for 4 years. But just learning a lot from those men. And it's not necessarily, sit down and give you mentorship all the time, right? It's living life with people, and, learning from their experiences and things like that, asking questions and having trust with someone enough to be vulnerable to say, hey man, I'm struggling with this, right? Can you give me some feedback? Can you give me some advice on this? Obviously my parents, grandparents, huge influences in my life. Didn't want to talk much about family, but I talked to my dad multiple times a week. My mom, my grandparents. Just got a phone with my granddad on the way over here, as a matter of fact, and just kind of catching up. And so they've always been real big supporters of me, and just always given really solid advice.
What about advice? What would you give your 15-year-old self some advice?
Ooh, my 15-year-old self. First of all, I'd say play defense on football, not offense. No, but my grandfather gave me some advice that really stuck with me and was kind of instrumental in helping me make the leap from the corporate America to Camp Gladiator. My granddad owned businesses his whole life, never worked for another man. He's 85 years old and still actively working. He owns a construction company in Shreveport, Louisiana. And he told me, so I was back in college, and he said, it's good to have a direction and a focus. You're pursuing engineering, he said, but don't be afraid of opportunity. Things aren't always what they seem. And so if you feel strong about something and you feel, the Lord leading you down a certain path, don't be afraid to go down that path. Go into it understanding, not blinders, but don't be afraid of opportunity, because you never know what's going to come up. And of course, that's part of his story for, how he opened several of his businesses and things like that. And that was in the context in which we were talking. But, that's kind of what I just described as what I heard in my head as a 19-year-old, sophomore in college. And so I was like, well, I have a direction, I have a plan, I have a focus, but I'm not just totally one track minded down this path where I can't see an opportunity if it knocks on the door,
Yeah. What about, has your life turned out how you thought it would?
Oh, heavens no. Not at all. Not at all. I mentioned I'm 40. Not bad. I didn't mean that to be bad, but golly, I'm looking back when I was, 15 or even I was 30. I just started doing Camp Gladiator and decided to kind of reinvent myself. I'm using air quotes here. Reinvent myself, at 30. Yeah. I mean, my brother is, I believe he's a VP now with half associates. So he and I work for the same engineering firm. That was kind of the path I was going down, and I figured that's what I was going to do. And that's what I was going to be, I never thought I'd be doing this, Camp Gladiator. My business suits definitely look different these days. We laugh and say we wear pajamas to work, Lululemon and, different things. But, man, it's fun. I've learned a lot along the way. I don't have many regrets, but I absolutely love what we do. And I love that, the kids, 2 kids, Annalise 5.5, Bonnie's 2.5. And I love that they get to see mommy and daddy be passionate about what they do. And they come out to camp. Like Annalie literally will not let Amy go run camp without her. Like she's Amy's little assistant, right? And she's out there all the time, but seeing mommy and daddy be passionate about what they do and seeing us lead active lifestyles and being healthy, just set that example for them is huge. You know, that was something I never saw coming. I always wanted to be a great example for my kids, but I never thought it would be in the context it is right now. And that's pretty powerful for me.
What would you title this chapter of your life?
The last 10 years or the one I'm about to go down?
Whatever you want, however you want to answer it.
The last 10 years, I would say really, truly kind of finding out who you are, right? And this next 10 years is leaning into who you are. So I love reading and, you know, podcasts and things like that. And one of the quotes, I'm going to mess it up, so I'm paraphrasing here, from a book called H3 Leadership is what you do should not define you, right? Who you are should define what you do and how you do it. And that, over the past couple of years, has really become powerful in my life. You know, I don't want to be defined. I love Camp Gladiator. Love, love, love it. Never have any aspiration to do anything else, but I don't want to be defined by it, right? If people feel like I'm a great leader, then I would like to be known as a great leader, not a great Camp Gladiator leader necessarily.
Sure.
You know, I just don't want my work to define what I do. I want my passion to define what I do and who I am as a person to define what I do and how I do it. I've never been one to chase titles. In fact, when Jeff and Allie asked me to interview for the region president position, they asked me during the interview, why do you want to be region president? I said, I don't. I don't. You'll never hear me say I want to be a certain position. You know, I understand what I'm passionate about. I feel like I understand what I'm good at, my skill sets. If those two things intersect with a title y'all want me to hold or a way I can serve the company, I said, I'd be more than happy to do that for as long as you want me to do that and then go do something else whenever you tell me to go do something else, right? Like I've always viewed my position in leadership as one of service. Right? Like my position exists not to be over someone and point and direct and tell them what to do, but how can I serve you? Right? I have almost over a decade of experience in this. I've done a lot of things wrong. Let me tell you, don't do the same mistakes I made, you know, and hopefully through, conversations and sharing stories and things of that nature, helping someone else learn to be, kind of a cliche, better than me, faster than me. Every position I've held within Camp Gladiator, I viewed it as like, I'm not the best person for this position. I'm trying to find my replacement to do this job better than I can do it. Always kind of been the first one at certain leadership levels. And so kind of trying to figure out what those are and helping, hand those off to other people and get them spun up to a place where they're able to do a lot better than me. They can go a lot deeper than me as far as the development and those types of things, span of controls. We talked about that a little bit. So that's what I'm really excited about.
What do you think the percentage of luck versus skill for you to put you at the position you're at now over these years?
So I don't really, again, I don't really believe in luck necessarily. I think I've done a good job taking advantage of opportunities and kind of the advice of my grandfather, don't be afraid of opportunities. Don't be afraid to stick your hand up and say, put me in, coach. Right? I want to take on this opportunity. Don't know how to do it, but I want to figure it out. That's been a lot of what we've done. Like there's been no one that blazed a path for a lot of us where this is how you do it. Like I said, I've done a lot of things the wrong way. And so I've done it through blazing a path, but not being afraid to kind of put yourself out there and say, yeah, put me in. Like I want to take this on as a new initiative. Some of them worked out really well. Some of them didn't work out very well, but it doesn't stop you from trying, say, failure is just not getting up again. I've always gotten up and keep trying on those things. And so I would never claim to be the most skilled person in any endeavor necessarily, but I learned very early on to work hard. And I don't want anyone to outwork me in that regard. It doesn't mean I work 20-hour days anymore, but the efficiency in which we work and working smarter in those things and learning how to utilize yourself. And like I said, growing incrementally better in certain areas to pick up efficiencies. I don't want anyone to outwork me in those things.
So last question, how would you like to be remembered?
It's a great question. Like, I've done this, a couple of leadership classes that I've done, like, write your eulogy type thing. And it's kind of a morbid way to think about it, but really trying to frame your mind now for how you want to be remembered, or what your next 10 years, or from a vision casting perspective, 25 years look like. I want to be known as someone that cared. I want to be known as someone that cared. First of all, I want to be known as a great husband, a great father. I'm not perfect necessarily, but I want to do my best to demonstrate, the Christian walk and faith. I want to be known as someone who enjoy the outdoors. I love hunting. I love fishing. Love being outside. I love things. I love working with my hands. I like building things. I like being able to take a pile of wood and envision something in my head, and a couple hours later, having that vision come to reality. Same thing with metal. I love welding. I love rebuilding old Jeeps. All these things I'm passionate about. I want to be known as someone that cared. And at the end, I want to be known as someone that made a difference. Someone made a difference in whatever it is that I do. Kind of the idea of leaving something better when you leave it than when you found it. I heard the analogy one time of a gardener versus a lawn guy. A lawn guy comes and maintains it along the way, but a gardener comes and he plants a seed and leaves it better for the person that comes after him. I want to be that gardener. Like, there's things that we're doing that I'll never fully see to fruition just because it's going to outlive me. And I'm okay with that. Like, I know that's going to happen. And that's what really excites me. And so I want to be known as someone that cared, made a difference.
I love it, man. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, it was a
big pleasure.
Yeah, thanks,
All right,
Daran.
cheers, brother.
Thanks.